The date was actually 2008. Young little Azuki G. Snoy comes home from soccer practice and takes a straight beeline down to the basement, where the two-seated couch is at, right in front of the Xbox 360 that I had to share with the rest of my family. Oh my god, that was annoying. My father bought a new game, Left 4 Dead, the first one. It was pretty groundbreaking when it first got released. It had overly positive reviews. Everyone loved to go play the versus mode, and well, it was not hard to see why. And then, through some time later, my dad comes over to me as I'm playing Call of Duty World at War. Yeah, I know, a more soy game, I understand. And then he gives me this.
Picked that up today. What does it say on it?
The orange box. I played this shit 24/7. When Half-Life 2 came out, it was a big fucking deal, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you any of that because you clicked on the video that has something to do with Half-Life 2, so I'm sure you already know it, so I'll spare the time to not tell you that entire fiasco. But let's talk about the Snoy review, because that's truly why you're here, right? No, who gives a fuck about Overcharged? Let's keep talking about this game that's been in circulation for over 2 decades. I played Half-Life 2 on that red Ring of Death shitbox probably over 20 to 25 times, give or take. This was my crack cocaine, my absolute drug of choice. Any amount of free time I had, it would be this, completely locked the fuck in. But I want to go say this. I think Half-Life 2 is a pretty good game. I know. Hold your pitchforks, I get it. But let's get to the review. Also, I'll be playing as Kasane Teto just to go have these little Reddit gold givers clap their hands as they're watching the footage. I think Half-Life 2, in terms of aesthetics, has aged like fine wine. I love the shittiness of these apartments. I love the rustic, somewhat clean design of a lot of the textures and the places that they've used. It is unmatched, and it is hard for me to go give any other game the same praise I can with the art style that they have here. The European aesthetic truly is unmatched. I'm also very glad that Portal uses this same exact art style, and same with Day of Defeat. I think that they did a fantastic job with this. It looks beautiful. I enjoy how the first part of the game doesn't take 15 minutes to complete. You actually get dropped into the world, there's a little bit of combat, you get straight into the plot here of the game. I like it. There's no stupid, retarded tram I have to go wait for to go load, do all these cutscenes and all this shit, and watch the netherrack on the walls go by as I'm twiddling my thumbs. I enjoy the Combine as an enemy. I really enjoy how they have that filter through their gas mask, kind of like what the HECU Marines had, but, you know, not as fucking loud. Fantasy writers dare ask the question, was racism okay? While futuristic writers put speciesism is justified. Downright based, even. TND? Nah, that's pussy shit. THD? Oh, and the characters. Who could forget the classic characters like Dr. L.J. Kleiner? Hey, yo, dab me up. Hylics, I actually do enjoy her as a sidekick. Sometimes she has some okay lines. I like how, at least when it comes to episode 1, she's not useless. She'll actually kill stuff with you, and she'll comment on the surroundings. It's pretty nice.
That's like a zombine, right? Zombine, get it?
Another thing to be brought up is the levels. I love it. The fact that you are not in the same scientific facility, the same maze-like tunnels and rooms and areas. You're not just seeing the same person in a lab coat the entire way and then finally going to an interesting place and then it's sucking. You'll feel the change of day, you'll feel the change of environment, the different people. It's actually really nice. It's a breath of fresh air. One thing that I think isn't really properly told in a lot of reviews is that I think the reason a lot of Valve games really do stick out, gameplay-wise, is because it's very free. The movement doesn't restrict you. You're not glued to the ground. You can jump and hop and climb over the environment at your will. It's very fluid. Your movement has weight. I like how there's no cutscenes, you're in the world, it's very hands-off, and I think that is the one reason why Valve and their games stand out so much and why people love them. And, Among other things, of course. I don't think too many people particularly enjoy how in RPGs, for some reason, your character just extends their eyes directly into the person they're speaking to. I don't think people like to have every corner there's this 4K cinematic cutscene. You know, maybe they don't want to go have an entire lore dump every 5 minutes. Now look, I'm probably going on a checklist here, but understand I have to kind of ease you into everything about this game and then the mod here just so you can understand where I'm coming from. I'll say this. I do enjoy Half-Life, and if you haven't played it, both 1 and 2, you should go out of your way to play it. These are good games, by a mostly competent developer. Let's go on to the part where I have a lot of the problem, and that's basically going to be gameplay-wise, considering story isn't going to be relevant for the modding part. When I came back to go play this game for my most recent playthrough, I decided to try hard. Now, I'm aware that hard is usually bullshit across the board in most games, but in this scenario, I was curious. Would the way I play Half-Life 2 normally on normal mode be completely changed if I played it on hard? Now, when I decided to go play hard mode for this newest run, I came to the shocking realization that every single weapon I used didn't change compared to the normal mode. How I played, I mean, sure, I guess I took a little bit more cover just so I didn't get rammed through by the Combine, but every single weapon I used is pretty much the same thing. It would be shotgun, crossbow, and then revolver. And then sometimes I would do the AR. When you play hard, of course, time to kill is everything. It is not like normal mode where you can just go around without pretty much any consequences. In hard mode, your armor will get shredded. And I mean, that's fine, whatever, you know, hard mode, but that means that I have to go sweat a little bit harder and quench my ass just that much tighter too. Because of this, of course, I fell into that same circle of me using revolver, crossbow, sometimes the shotgun. The shotgun was very iffy because sometimes if I shot in the head, just a single shot, then it would kill someone. Other times if I even did the blast, it just straight up wouldn't. It was very weird. Now, the only time in the game when the run, shoot, think, live motto seemed to actually reign true was over in Ravenholm, because those guys are zombies. They hit physically and they'll actually lunge at you, which you're able to dodge. When you have enemies like Combine that are able to just hit scan you all the time, it makes it a little annoying, especially in Half-Life 1 when a lot of the enemies really only shot projectiles. Yes, I'm aware that the Marines were obviously in there. I would say that they're only there for like 3 chapters, and then every other enemy after that has something to do with a projectile, some sort of charge up, so on, so forth. You get it. Now, besides time to kill, you're probably sitting there like, well, Snoy, why did you only use those weapons? What do you mean? There's a whole arsenal to try from. I'm gonna spit so much truth here when I tell everyone this one statement. I think these guns feel awful to use. Go ahead and cancel me for that.
That's just my opinion. Go ahead and cancel me. I don't care.
Let's start with the first example being the pistol. I think the pistol is the worst sounding weapon I've ever had to use in any video game, and I played Stalker. Now, I'm not one of those very big, you know, realistic reload kind of guys. Everything's jittery, everything needs weight. You don't need that to go have good reloads or anything like that. You can have decent sounds that don't need to sound realistic, but if the fucking pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies was a weapon, this is what it would sound like. I don't like the reload. It's just in and out. It just feels super stiff. I don't like the Nerf gun dart sound. Overall, just, it feels like I'm shooting paintballs at the enemy. I know a lot of you are sitting there telling me it's the starting pistol. Yes, I understand that. But you can still at least have it feel good or sound good. That's it. And all the feel good has to do is just look good, being animations or the ways that the enemies react to it. Maybe they might get stunned. Maybe they might, you know, I don't know, when you shoot them in the head, their head bounces back for a second. You know, there's response. There's so many factors that you can go into. I also don't like the SMG. MP7s in my game are my wife. Literally, I oath that shit in Girls Frontline. But this just sounds also equally as gross. And same with the model. And would you look at that? The reload sucks. It's the same thing as the pistol. I hate this 10 times more than the MP5 in the original Half-Life 1. Hold on now, okay? Okay, here's another example, the final one. I also do not like the AR. I think this weapon's design looks gross. It looks like you took some metal out of a construction site. Now, this goes across the board. I feel this about pretty much every single weapon. I don't think a lot of the models look that good. I don't like how they sound. I hate the reloads. And more importantly, they just don't pack that punch, you know what I mean? I mean, sure, yes, blood comes out of them, but if you take a look at a lot of other games, and they'll show you what I mean when guns actually have feel, they have pizzazz, they have pops. Final thoughts on the weapon is that I keep seeing this weird idea that people have of saying, oh, every weapon has their place, you know, everything just fits so perfectly in the game, and I deny that. Once you get the gravity gun, the crowbar becomes useless. Once you find out that you don't need to use the gravity gun or the crowbar to open crates and just use your bullets at that point instead, I hardly even use the gravity gun unless I had to specifically do something for a puzzle, or if there actually was a conveniently placed object that I could just toss over the room and kill someone. On top of that, the pistol I stopped using immediately once I got the SMG and the revolver. And then on top of that, I didn't even touch the SMG, as I just said, because the AR just did its job, or the other 3 weapons I mentioned also did it. I also think that Half-Life 2's weapon arsenal is far less creative compared to Half-Life 1. Last thing about the gameplay, and then we can get on to this mod business here. I know everyone's on the edge of their seat for this. I think the enemy variety in this game is very lackluster. I mean, I think the Combine are a great idea with fantastic designs, but it just seems like a lot of the time I'm just fighting stormtroopers, and sometimes they have a shotgun, sometimes they have an AR. I mean, sure, you do have the occasional Strider, you do have the occasional helicopter and gunship, but in terms of ground soldiers, I wouldn't say they're really that unique. You don't see someone having a shield, you don't see someone actually placing down, you know, the turrets that you fight in like Nova Prospect and all that. And then on top of that too, when it comes to the local fauna, you only really see antlions, and that's pretty much it, question mark. I mean, barnacles, sure, yeah, but yeah, that's like it. You don't have bull squids, you don't have hound eyes. Now, okay, I'm gonna close it off here. Even with all these critiques, I can recognize to some extent I'm being a little bitch, and that this game is still pretty damn good. You should play it. And you're probably scratching your head here like, okay, Snowy, why did you just give me 10 minutes of your opinion on something I probably don't give a flying fuck about? Like, what's the context here? Why are you wasting my time? No, because you should be giving me another 10 minutes where I review the actual mod here that everyone's losing their mind about. And then we'll talk about my hottest take on this channel. But first, a time skip. My first ever mod I installed in my entire life was the Minecraft Camel Ore mod. A mod that added way more ores to the game than one can imagine, and this was all the way back in beta. It was because of this mod right here that began my never-ending thirst for mods. And I came to the realization that my favorite kind of mods were the mods that had to do with the different interpretation of the original product, lore accurate or not. Another time skip later, and then I get greeted with this video of 2022, and then open the gates for my relationship with Overcharged. Never before in my life have I seen a mod that's so ambitious. Gameplay-wise, that's the one you gotta focus on here, okay? Don't forget that. This mod has the most amount of content I've seen in any mod, let alone game. It is crazy, and I have to give props to the dev here with the idea. Now, before a lot of people start jerking their knees real hard here, okay, let me do the review and then we'll get to the controversy. Because if you already know about it, there's a lot to talk about. But first, the review. Have you ever played SMod? Well, meet SMod's younger cousin, Overcharged. The basic nitty-gritty details all the way to the bone here is that it adds content that is either from previous Half-Life games, cut content, or they add content that is attempting, again keep that in mind, attempting to go fit into the world of Half-Life 2. It adds guns, enemies, new visual fixes, and in some way additions, and gameplay mechanics. And also secret areas on the maps. Do you recall when I said that the gunplay in Half-Life 2 feels fucking awful? Well, they fixed that tenfold here. The animations, the sounds, well, in some cases they didn't fix the pistol sound, is great. I love the feedback, I love the animations, they even add inspect animations, something that they didn't need to do, but they felt inclined to do anyway. Now this game adds a fuck ton of weapons. I'm sure you can go look up the, the little videos that are like, all weapons showed, and you can get a grasp of exactly how many they've added, but they've improved onto the arsenal a lot. Not only did they touch the original weapons, but they also added the new ones with a similar amount of quality. It feels great to shoot, the combat feels nice and modern, it packs a punch. I love it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember this mod actually being released before mmod, so you could play the episode 1 and 2 levels in Half-Life 2 because they updated the engine, or, whatever the fuck the technical term is, which is really cool. Since they had the expansion be brought to those episodes, I was genuinely surprised to see that this much effort, where during the little antlion raid here, they implemented those new enemies being a part of it. And that's fucking wicked. When it comes to the local fauna, they added the bull squid and the hound eyes. Okay, that's pretty sick. They added back the cut cremator, added combine assassins, and now there's a combine that has a shield. There's even new parts of the map, some parts that were cut off, or there's just new extensions to them. This mod is a treasure trove of brilliant ideas and additions, and everything about it I love. I am 100% here for, and I prefer this mod over smod. The one difference between smod and this mod is the fact that smod is a little bit sillier with its theming. You have exploding bananas, you have fucking throwing scissors, the PSP launcher, and I ain't dissing it for that. I think that's very cool in its own way. But when it comes to Overcharge, a lot of its additions are a little bit more grounded. It could get addicted to this kicking shit, man. The best part about this is that everything is customizable. All you have to do is go over to the overhaul options and... what the fuck? Yeah, this is one of the critiques that I kind of understand, that this totally could be formatted better, because this looks like the advanced options of TF2 right now. What the fuck? Trust me, this may look scary, but as long as you have the reading level past the second grader, you'll be fine. And a map preset option, so you can kind of determine how you want to play, something that I've seen a lot of other reviewers neglect. Don't know why. Now let's wrap up the review portion. This mod totally could have benefited from a weapon wheel, something like they have in Doom and other games, or at the very least a better quick swap, you know what I'm saying? Like, not Q, where you just swap to the last weapon. I mean, like, shortcut that you have, maybe 4 of them or something, I don't know. Because if you have 56 weapons, if we're including, the base arsenal here, then yeah, it can get kind of annoying when you have to press the letter 4 8 fucking times to get to the weapon that you want. Also seen people complain about how half and half the models can be. Sometimes they can look great, and then other times they can look kind of not the best. Sure, I suppose that's a complaint, but for me personally, I mean, hey, a mod's a mod. Of course it's going to be very all over the place in terms of quality. Lastly, let me say this. You owe it to yourself to go play this mod. It is a wild time, and it is fun, and you can get hours of enjoyment with this. And you owe it to yourself to go over to the mod page and download it, is what I would say if it was fucking up. And here it is. The ever-exciting controversy. Let's just take the band-aid off. Here are some big reasons why this mod caught a lot of flack that even I agree with. In the newest 2.0 build of Overcharge, at least that's what I believe when it was first added, some YouTubers launched the game to go find out that they couldn't. It would crash on launch every time and say something like, "Stop talking shit about us." And then magically, when they used a different account, it launched without any problems. Here's how I think it works. Your copy of Half-Life 2 has a specific model number, and then same thing with your profile on Steam. So the copy that was sold is tied to your account, and some mods require you to go actually have the base game installed, so that connects all these at once. At least that's how I think. So some of these YouTubers, with their ID of their profile and also maybe perhaps just the game as well, both connected, and boom, they were not able to launch it. Have you ever seen those stores that say, "We have the right to refuse service"? Well, let this be a learning point for a lot of modders here when I say you're the product, not the store. You should not be able to go have a blacklist of who can and cannot install your game or use your product. I mean, that would be fucking ridiculous. Talk about an actual dystopian idea, and all just for some some criticism. Well, at least some criticism. Second biggest one is stolen assets. Yes, you heard me right. There could be some models, some weapons, animations, etc., 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 that are more than likely either not credited, straight up stolen, or in other ways, if they are credited, then it's not entirely shown. Now, of course, this is what I like to call exploitation modding, where you basically take advantage of someone else's work, and or if it is used with permission, you probably didn't even properly credit it, which is just scummy all around. The link to the document will of course be in the description. This is the one that I find the most comedic because a lot of mods for a lot of other games, when they're usually put in like mod packs like this, the individual mod maker is usually cool with them being added into these packs, as long as you credit them and ask them beforehand. Modding usually is a team effort. Another problem people cited was the balancing. The thing is that you do have a lot of guns that either have the same purpose as one of the guns already in the game that they already improved, or they just have these power fantasy guns. A lot of people didn't like that. Guns like the Glock were useless compared to the Beretta, or the USP, or even the dual USPs, or even the revolver. There was also an XM auto shotgun, if you played CSGO, which was basically just a better spaz, even if the spaz has the double shot. And while I get that, I feel like that's not really much of a complaint considering this game, with what it's trying to be, isn't Half-Life 2. Just something we'll talk about here in a moment. If I had to add a few critiques of my own of some weapons we should be buffing, then first off, I think with the Glock, you should do what Black Mesa did and give it kind of a weird semi-auto feature to it. Or do what Counter-Strike did and give it a burst fire mode. Hell, you should probably just make the USP, just have it be the double one, don't just do the single. Kick is admittedly way too good and kind of outshines every other melee weapon, so I feel like we should give some love there. Perhaps for every single melee weapon, if not just the crowbar, we could buff it and just give it a speed boost when you get out, kind of like the knife from Counter-Strike, but maybe times it by 2. With the knife, you could make it a throwing knife and get multiple and you find them through supply crates. With the stun stick, I don't know, throw it on the ground and electrocute an area, set up some defenses. There's a lot of ideas you can do, which I feel like that they unfortunately missed out on. And the last one that I do sort of agree with is the bugs. Now, I have experienced some bugs in this current build of 2.0, but it was never that bad as it was at launch, because I don't think I'm overreacting when I say that it was almost on the levels of Cyberpunk 2077, where there were times where I'd straight up crash, there was missing textures in the water. It was crazy. It was almost like every single step you took, there is at least 6 bugs. Now, with 2.0, I mean, I'm fine. I think I've only seen a few bugs, like, I don't know, the shields from the Combine shielder guy just like floating in midair, and I haven't had any crashes, but it seems like everyone else was still getting it, especially with the lighting, which is where this whole sun is leaking business comes in.
The sunlight to poke through the walls nonsensically. That's where the fan favorite sun is leaking meme comes from, I believe.
Now, don't take this as me defending the mod here, considering it's a bug that should have been fixed in the first place, but I don't really like this meme. No, it's not because I find it offensive. It's like a lot of the other memes that you see nowadays where it's just reference humor. This might as well just be 6.7 Half-Life edition. Like a lot of the other memes today that really should have a shelf life, it really doesn't seem like this one has one, considering you still see people a year later making the joke. But I digress. Now, before I start to drop this fat truth nuke on all y'all, let me talk about a few of the critiques that I've seen that I strongly disagree with. One of them, that this mod is being described as Gary's mod with a ton of wacky add-ons and it's all crazy and kooky. It's really not. A lot of people seem to get this idea that if you just install a ton of add-ons and then go into Gary's mod and then launch Half-Life 2, then you're going to get exactly that. Overcharged. The thing about Half-Life 2 Overcharged is the fact that it's an already made package, a mod pack if you will. All you do is download it, drop it into Steam, and boom, it's ready to play. With Gary's mod, there's going to have to be a lot of customization, a lot of tweaks, and a lot of downloads. I was never trying to deny this fact that you can't do it, but what I was trying to say is that there's definitely more effort involved, and what's so funny is that I'm going to go off of a fat limb here and say that a lot of the people that say this are big M-mod fans. And what's so funny is that this whole Gary's mod thing can also be spun around back at those people, because that's pretty much what any of these mods can be described as. If you mod shit to the base game of Half-Life 2, that being model replacements, animations, new enemies, guns, so on and so forth, that's exactly what it is. Gary's Mod add-ons on the Half-Life 2 campaign. But y'all can't handle that brand of milk yet. Also, the fact that this mod is made for Half-Life 2 and Gary's Mod has no relevance whatsoever. If you could just play any mod on Gary's Mod that could have been made for Half-Life 2, then why are there still mods being made for Half-Life 2? All the way since the beginning, I remember I saw people complaining that this wasn't lore accurate to the Half-Life 2 universe. But people in the Half-Life 2 community for quite some time haven't really been able to completely understand the concept of separating a mod's work to Valve's work. There are two mods that fit this description to a T that the community shat their pants about. Cinematic Mod and Episode 3 The Closure. These are two mods that aim to go be in the Half-Life 2 campaign / universe, but that doesn't mean it's lore accurate, nor is it approved by Valve. And that's completely fine because modders should be allowed to make whatever mod they want to make because it is their mod. I'm not saying you can't criticize them, I'm just saying understand that what you're reviewing here is a mod, even if their description isn't properly describing what the mod is. This will soon be acknowledged. Now, the last one we'll be talking about here is random enemy placement. I can moderately agree with this considering you'll literally see hound eyes directly under the places where Metro Police and or citizens would be. You know, threats to people's lives, including the Combine, or in some other instances, like how come the sewers is just full of all these creatures and bull squids and stuff, when these are really populated areas. And then on top of that, how come there's Race X, you know, the aliens from opposing force, and, you know, all these other creatures that, you know, really don't exist in Half-Life 2 being brought back from Half-Life 1 and its expansions. And I can kind of understand that, but for me, I never found it to be a problem because, you know, and this is the part where I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat right here, I felt like this added an interesting kind of layer to this mod where it's like, oh, you know, the Combine, sure, yeah, they were powerful, but it seemed like even they didn't fully clean up everything from the Black Mesa incident or the opposing force incident. It still feels like that there are these things in the world that were sorely missing from Half-Life 2, especially in the cut content when the bull squids were going to be featured on a few of the maps. That's if you're a knower. Now, when it comes to the balancing and half good models, bad models stuff, that's all trivial. Like, realistically, who cares? But when it comes to the whole Steam bat file, the stop talking shit about us, and the stealing of assets, that's when I draw the line. However, I am also a firm believer in separating the artist from the art. So you might be asking yourself, well, Snoy, why do you still like Overcharged? You know, what's the whole idea that you enjoy more so than the work itself? And that is because Overcharged is the perfect textbook example of these two reasons. Half-Life 2 Overcharged is a shining example of a weapon sandbox. If you truly need some examples of other games that are like that, then here's a few. Helldivers 2, the latest Modern Warfare 3, or even Payday 2. As you can see by these photos, these three games have a fuck ton of weapons. Of course, all these games have other objectives besides just dropping in with a loadout or customizing guns or all this. But the main point of a weapon sandbox is the variety of options you have and the different personalities of the types of weapons you can have. Sure, of course there's gonna go be some basics in the mix. Of course the Glock isn't that much different to the USP or even the Beretta. Of course there's gonna be like 3 shotguns that are all gonna have varying levels of intrigue here. Of course there's gonna be a balancing problem because it's 56 weapons. The best part of it being a weapon sandbox is the fact that you have variety and all of them, I believe, feel great and have their own point even if it's very minuscule. I remember I watched this video by Jarek the Gaming Dragon and he said this.
When it comes to shooters, the gun you are carrying dictates your playstyle and really are the characters of the game. You're just kind of a blank state to carry a gun.
That's pretty based, coming from a furry. And even if you don't want to carry 50 weapons in your inventory, they specifically allow you the option in the options menu to go limit the amount you want. So you can have more of like a fear kind of style where you get to pick and choose your weapons, or you can limit it to a specific number, kind of like the original Half-Life. I do enjoy how a lot of these guns are placed in the world and also you have a nice ramp up to them. It's not a loadout system. This is something that you find with time and the more you pursue the game. whether it be through standard linearity, or you find a weapon in a hidey hole here that they were having for a secret, kinda like they did in smod. In the original description of the mod, they tried to describe the mod as a Black Mesa light, when in reality that's not really what the mod was. And then they redid the bio, which is better, and then redid it one more time, and I think that honestly it still isn't enough. This is the fundamental idea here that I believe both the people playing the mod and also the developers have yet to understand. Given the amount of enemies and the amount of variety and also the amount of weapons, I would classify this mod as a chaos mod, an overall clustercluck of different ideas all smashing into one another. You can clearly see by some of the footage here that you even see different factions of enemies fight one another in the battlefield as you are fighting them. It's actually kind of entertaining. This mod is not the Half-Life 2 that you know, but is instead the wacky, zany rendition of just a group of Russians. If I had to go describe this mod, then I would say shit's fucked. Every area is meant to go be messed with and contaminated, that hints the chaos. Have you ever heard of those mods that corrupt? The Half-Life 2 randomizer. There's even a Persona 4 and 5 chaos mod that randomizes encounters and randomizes enemies and screws up everything. Mods like these aren't unheard of and have actually been around for a long time. Mods that are ill-fitting of the original style of the game are commonplace. There is a strong difference between critiquing and policing, but this is woven together into the Half-Life 2 campaign, and the objective is to fight through all that and to eventually make it to the end. To say that this mod has, so many weapons, or, there's so many enemies, or, this isn't Half-Life 2, this is inaccurate! You have simply missed the point of the mod, and to some extent, I can't blame you if it seems like that even the developers don't have a grasp of what they've made. And that is kind of beautiful in its own right, that they made this monstrosity that even they can't understand, and it seems like the community is struggling to put the pieces together with. I can't believe I'm gonna say this, especially with the amount of mods and experiences I've had. I mean it when I say this is probably one of the best mods I've played in my life. It's just so upsetting that this mod had a very diseased development and an unfortunate launch. But on the other side of the spectrum, it's even more disappointing to go see that it seems that the community here can't really understand that you can think for your fucking self. That's how I came to this conclusion, and I really wish that some people spent more than 5 minutes using their brain, and to take every opinion that they've seen on a mod as exactly that. An opinion. That is why I think that this mod has been so tragically misunderstood. Ooh yeah, you hear that? That's me washed my hands with this review. Alright, just let me wipe my hands off. Alright. Overcharge should have taken us several steps forward, but instead took us an entire flight of stairs back. If you don't like Overcharge because of its moral decisions, then hey, I'm in that boat with you. If you don't like Overcharge because of the bugs and a lot of the glitchiness, I understand that. And if you don't like Overcharge because of the reasons that I like it, like I was talking about with the weapon sandbox, no offense taken. And if my reasoning for why I enjoy the mod have struck a chord with any of you guys, well, keep your head high. There's always a next time. Overcharge should be the leading example of what not to do with your mod and not how to take criticism. And, on the flip side, it should also be the reminder that there is a market for these kinds of mods. The only question left remaining is, will the Half-Life 2 community be willing to accept it?